Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live She Knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking this video, subscribing to the channel, getting into the chat, letting me know how you guys are thinking and feeling on this Thursday, and where you guys are watching in from. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the £45 million deal for Benjamin Sesko, who has become a top target for Arsenal. We're also going to be talking about the approach this summer going after younger players, and Mikel's summer wish list has been revealed, so we're going to talk about that as well. Lots to discuss. And I'm going to remind you guys one more time that today, immediately following this stream, we're going to be hopping over to Tifo in order to do our first classic watch along of the 2020 FA Cup final against Chelsea. We're all going to go to YouTube where you can watch that match, that full match, and watch it together. For my nostalgia merchants, for some of you that are just chilling on Thursday and you're like, shit, I ain't got nothing else to do. Well, let's rewatch this game. And I think it's going to be interesting because none of those players actually play for us anymore. But it was the last time we won a trophy, and it was a really, really good time. So I'm excited. I have my popcorn already ready. So it's pre-popped, so that's why it's already ready. But I have my popcorn. I have a new bottle of champagne so I can chill with you guys. And that's what's going to be happening immediately following this stream at 8 p.m. UK time. The link is in the description as well as pinned in the chat. And if you guys need the link, you guys can always ask me for it and I will send it straight to you. But all you have to do is use code Jessica. Once you sign up with your email, all you have to do is use code Jessica to enter the stream. And so we're going to be doing that. Since I've announced this, there's maybe been 15 to 20 of you guys that have signed up on TIFO as members, which is really, really cool. So I'm expecting to see quite a few of you guys after this stream for us to chill after we talk about the transfer news, which I know some of you guys are just dying to talk about. And this is what the TIFO website looks like. When you guys click on the link, this is what you will see. If you don't see this, what you will see is a landing page where you can see my classic watch along is right here for May 30th. You'll click right there. There's already a couple of you guys in the chat, which I really like. I love that. You guys are the realest ones. And like it says right here, in just an hour and 25 minutes, the classic watch along will start. Mine says start watch along because I'm the person running it. But for you guys, it'll say like enter watch along or start watching or something like that. So very simple instructions. Again, immediately following this stream, I'm super excited about it. I'm excited to talk to you guys about transfers, but like really, I cannot wait for us to just like chill and watch this game. I haven't watched it in a while. Like for those of you guys who don't know me very well, I'm a nostalgia merchant. I'm a 90s baby. So I rewatch games often. And somebody was like, Jess, go touch grass. And I'm like, this is my version of touching grass, like watching old Arsenal games and getting those feelings back. And so I'm excited to do that with you guys in just over an hour. Let's see who's all in here. Doyen Sola says, hi, Jess. Hello to you as well. C. Walder says, hello. Hello to you as well. Drew Gunner says, hey, Jess. Hello to you. Junior, hey, Jess. Hey, Gunners. Xavier says, hello. Shamaria says, hey, Jess. Hello to you as well. Iman says, hey, Jess. There's tons of you guys in here. I'm super excited. And there's already 180 of you guys watching this stream. And make sure if you guys are new that you guys get in the chat. Let me know that you guys are new. You're new to the channel. Make sure you subscribe and like this show. In the last couple of streams that I've done, there's been so many new subscribers, which is the best part about the summer is you get new subscribers because people are looking for transfer news and then they just carry over into the season, which is so cool. So for some of you guys who have been here for a long time, like C has been here for a long time, it's exciting to see, you know, even like Iman's been here for a long time, but it's also nice to see new faces like Xavier. I don't think I've ever seen you before. Kassan Bailey. I hope I'm saying it right. Hi, I haven't seen you before. So really cool to see new people here on the channel, and hopefully you guys enjoy the show. Here's some headlines just to start off the show with the smaller stories that may not get covered today. Arsenal will not allow William Saliba to participate in the Olympics. Frenchman Youssouf Fofana will leave Monaco this summer, and Arsenal, AC Milan, Atletico Madrid and Paris Saint-Germain have already had discussions with his agent, and that's coming from L'Equipe. Roy Keane has been accused of elbowing an Arsenal fan who headbutted him during a match at the Emirates in September, which I imagine is the game that the Garnacho offside goal. I would imagine it was that game. Arsenal are ready to enter the race for Feyenoord left back Quiggly Diggly Dot Hartman. When the Dutchman returns from injury next season. He had an ACL injury, so I'm not sure how real that is. And Bayern Munich is monitoring developments related to Alexander Zinchenko. That's coming from John Cross, who we're going to get into a lot of the news that he put on in his most recent article because he's the one that was talking about the Sesko deal. Happy birthday to Fabio Vieira, who turned 24 today, as well as Eddie Nketiah, who turned 25. And like I said, first classic watch-alongs today on TiVo. So make sure you guys click on the link and make sure you guys RSVP with code Jessica. So let's get into it. Let's go ahead and get into it. Sesko. I can't wait to talk to you guys about this because this is just like, it's so funny. I was already going to talk about Sesko. So my thumbnail was already ready. But that article from John Cross coming out just made it even sweeter because now people that were not interested in Sesko are all of a sudden like dying for him because they feel like it's going to happen. And no Orny bomb yet. But for those of you guys, like I talked about this a lot last summer, where a lot of fans, like football fans, completely discredit articles or reports from outlets that they don't deem to be reliable. So the Daily Mail and the Mirror, like that. But it really more depends on the person writing the article or the journalist more than the outlet. There can be unreliable people at great outlets. It's about the person, the journalist actually writing it, not, the publication. And two people have been super reliable in terms of Arsenal news over the last 2 seasons during the transfer window. And those two people have been Sammy McBell and John Cross. And John Cross has had, since I've joined football Twitter, he's had a pretty poor reputation amongst Arsenal fans. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't have new information or new contacts or whatever. And so he was really on the pulse of everything going on with Declan Rice last summer. He also broke some of the news regarding Timber. He was also somebody that I think he broke the news about Bayer Leverkusen wanting Xhaka way early, like way, way early. And so he does have connections as well as Sammy McBell. Both of them, I do think, were briefed yesterday regarding Douglas Luiz and Bruno Guimaraes being like very high on Arsenal's list of midfielders should they not get Martin Zubimendi, which looks likely that they will not get Martin Zubimendi, and that Sesko is pretty much like the number one option for the striker position. And so just going into some of the headlines is that, Arsenal are in pole position and are lining up a 45 million pound deal to sign Benjamin Sesko, who RB Leipzig are readying to sell this summer. Sesko has said yes to the transfer and would like to make the move to the Emirates. So that's pretty much the headline from John Cross from yesterday, if I can just find it. So this is also from John Cross. Benjamin Sesko favors the move to Arsenal this summer, and Arsenal in pole position, which is kind of what I just said. And yesterday, let me just find it really quick. This is from Gary Jacobs. This actually came earlier this morning, that Arsenal want to tie down Arteta to a new long-term contract before accelerating their summer player recruitment plans. The club are targeting younger players, and Benjamin Sesko is on their radar, doubling down on Benjamin Sesko. From Gary Jacob. And I know there was some from yesterday too. So just give me a second to like roll down. I have so many bookmarks. It's actually outrageous. I really shouldn't have this many. Where is it? Maybe I didn't save those ones. Maybe I may not have saved those ones. Let me just, see if I can find it now. Because Sammy McBell and someone else also came out with stuff the other day. So if I can't find it like right now, I may be able to find it in a couple of minutes too. Let me actually go to their page. Hold. Let's see. My goodness. Why can't I find it? Like maybe I don't know. I don't know what I've done. But yeah, Sesko has definitely been mentioned by multiple people. Here it is. I finally found it. Arsenal are being kept updated on the developments of Leipzig forward Benjamin Sesko's future, while Bruno Guimaraes and Douglas Luiz are among the club's central midfield targets. So that came out yesterday from Sammy McBell. And so there's several layers, like even Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano have both mentioned Sesko, not in such like they haven't said it with like chess that we're getting them or anything like that, but they've been mentioned quite a bit in terms of Arsenal wanting a striker and Sesko being the option. Now, I know that this is going to be something that people are not going to, there's going to be obviously differences of opinion, which is like normal because like we all have opinions. I do think that there will be some Arsenal fans that are, and if you're in this camp, please get in the chat and let me know if you're one of these people, but that feel like Arsenal should be buying the finished article and buying somebody like, because there's not that many out there, if we're honest, you guys, but buying somebody like Osimhen, right? Buying somebody with the name and the star quality and, blah, 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 that's already like fully cooked, that's what we should be going after. And then there's the people that feel like because Kai Havertz has done so well, that the natural decision would be to bring in somebody that, you actually have the room to bring in somebody that's a little bit more, that needs more development. And it's okay. I know people are like, I don't want a project. But it depends on how big of a project you think Sesko is, but bringing in a project like striker is fine. So there's kind of like two schools of thought here. I hear both sides. I definitely hear both sides. Like I would take Gyökeres in a second. He's more of the finished article than Sesko. He's 26 years old. He scored like 43,000 goals for Sporting this season, and he looks like he's ready to make the step to the new team. I would take him in a heartbeat. I would take Isak, who is also the finished article, even though it'd be really difficult to get him because of how much he's going to cost. Sesko, I do like Sesko. I think 20 years old, the physical qualities are something that you just can't, there are just some physical attributes from a striker that we just haven't had in a long time. Seriously, when's the last time we had a striker that was 6 feet tall, physical, good box presence, hits through the ball, real striker, complete striker? When's the last time we had somebody like that? It's been a long time. I don't even think you can consider Aubameyang that type of striker, because even though he was tall, he wasn't a physical presence. He was fast and hit the channels and was a good finisher. I don't remember the last time Arsenal bought a striker like this. And I do think Arsenal are going into a new era where the false nine, we just kind of put that away. Arsenal, we are beyond the false nine. It's cute to have those options. I'm not saying just kick Jesus or Trossard to the curb, but you have to have somebody that just wants to score goals. And if you have the ability to have them develop, and it depends on how big of a project or how raw you think he is. I don't think he's as raw as some people are saying he is. He's scored 14 goals, being mostly a sub for RB Leipzig. He's played in the Champions League. He plays in a top 5 league. So it's not like he's, coming from bumfuck place that's not in a top 5 league, that, it's not like that. He's coming from somewhere where we know, so it's not like he's that raw. But he's definitely not the finished article. There is a rawness to him too, where you do know that it's probably going to take him some time to get up to speed. Is it worth it? If in a couple of years he ends up being somebody that we look at and we're like, he is like an Isak, then it will be worth it. but do you want to take the risk? Can Arsenal take the risk? And those are the questions, right? So yeah, it's a really, really interesting one. Giroud, people are saying that's the last physical presence that we had, and Giroud hasn't been here in a long time, so it's really like there's so many schools of thought, and I understand both sides. I lean towards the more, I feel like I'm thinking about it from more of like a realistic point of view, that you cannot spend 65 million on Havertz and have him discover himself at number 9 and not allow that information to update what you need in the summer window. Pre Havertz finding this form, a number 9 that was already done and like already ready to go was of paramount importance in the summer. But you update, your opinion based on the information changing. And I do think the information has changed. And I don't think you can just throw Havertz on the bench. I think he would be an incredibly, an incredible waste of money on the bench for Arsenal as some rotational number 9/number 8. We already have Trossard for that. Like, to double down with Havertz doing that too just feels like a complete waste of money. So Arsenal are just not, I don't think, in a position to do that. And I don't think they should. I think they should update the information. And the information says Havertz is a number 9. And we can very much so see ourselves going into next season with Havertz as the number 9, and maybe having a younger profile number 9 that's only going to cost us maybe between 45 million and 55 million would allow us to go really big in another area of importance, which we've already, I've beaten this like a dead horse. Arsenal need a big midfield signing. And Arsenal are only going to do one big signing a summer. Y'all know this. If we do a big striker, that means we're not getting a big midfielder. If we do big midfielder, then we have to modify what we're going to do up front. And that's why I think like this move towards a younger profiles that are not going to cost as much is going to allow us to go big in the position that I personally feel like needs the most work. We cannot go into next season with a midfield that's still imbalanced, where we're trying to make it work, where people are doing a job where it's not quite right. We need to get the midfielder. And if you go get somebody of a Douglas Luiz or Bruno Guimaraes' level, you're spending at least 80 million. So that completely takes out the idea of being able to bring in an Osimhen or even maybe a Gyökeres at 68 million. So it's kind of like the younger profile makes more sense to me. Would I just love Arsenal to just go out there and pick up all the elite talents that they possibly can and just without any sort of thought of squad building or anything? Yeah. But realistically, that's not how the world works. Like, Arsenal have to be smart. And so I really do think that this might be the right avenue to go down. Now, the deal's not done or anything like that. I'm waiting for Ornstein to either correct this or come with his own information, because we know he could either totally send this fan base into total bliss or just completely put a dagger in the heart if he just says none of this is true. But it does feel like a deal that we can and should be doing. But I'm really interested to see what you guys think, because there's always going to be people that do not want projects. And I can see that being a huge barrier in terms of people wanting this signing. So yeah, Caesar says Sesko is the next big complete striker, needs to improve aerial play, pivot play, and arsenal of shooting. But that's it, coming off the bench and trained by Mikel. This will be the first time that we've actually seen Arteta work with a striker since Aubameyang. And I mean, Aubameyang hasn't been gone for a million years, but the way that kind of worked out, it didn't really work out. And no, I'm not going to go into the whole Aubameyang nonsense. Who really cares? But does Arteta have the ability to not make the striker into everything? Because quite frankly, there's no reason to bring in somebody like Sesko, who is like you said, the next complete number 9, and make him into some sort of winger, forward, false 9. and ask him to do things that are outside of his skill set. If you want somebody to drop in and create a little bit more, play Havertz. If you want goals, play Sesko and help him become a better striker. Don't make him become something else. And that's what I'm looking at from Mikel is he going to be able to bring out the best qualities in the striker and make him more of a deadly number 9? Or is he going to try to change him into some sort of facilitator? And if he does that, I do feel like it will be a little bit of a waste of signing because, like, why do we need that? We need goals. Like, we need somebody who is so frightening that and so inevitable that we just become a completely different team. We don't need another false 9. Chris says, 100%, we need a big midfielder. Odegaard and Rice are entering their primes. We cannot waste them. Complete the trio. Saida says, if they're going for Sesko, then I would expect 2 midfielders. Arca says, the good thing about Sesko is that his rawness comes from his poor decision-making, not execution. Like Jackson, decision-making can be easily coached. Aman says the midfield signing is the most crucial signing. It has to be a ceiling raiser. I agree with that. Like, I think we can go into next season with center forward options of Havertz and Sesko and feel like we've upgraded that position because it, like, Sesko and Havertz, let's be all the way fucking for real. Sesko and Havertz or Jesus and Nketiah, which is better? Because last season, that's what we went into. We went into last season with Jesus and Nketiah. This coming season, if we were to buy Sesko, it would be Havertz and Sesko. Tell me we have not upgraded. So I do think that we will feel like we have upgraded in that position. It also allows more funds to go to midfield, and maybe even Arsenal will be able to squeak out a winger as well. And we'll talk about that in a second because that was maybe mentioned on Arteta's wish list, which I'm happy about. Let's see. Jordan says, I would take I would take Sesko if it means a big midfield like overhaul. Or Paul. Amon says, I think Sesko coming in means no winger unless one of Jesus Trossard leaves. I just don't think we can go without the winger. I just feel like we will be looking at the winger options beyond Martinelli and Saka and kind of sighing a little bit. Like, I just looked at my bitch inside. Like, and I love Trossard. You guys know I do. I think Jesus is a good quality player, but it's like it's not giving what it needs to give. Like, it would be nice to have somebody with more trickery, more speed, more pace. And like, I get that Sesko can play on the left, but like getting him to play on the left reeks of like we're just doing a mommying bullshit again. Like, either Havertz plays through the middle or Sesko plays through the middle. If you need another winger that offers you some pace or something different, fucking buy one. Like, seriously, just buy one. Osmond says Sesko 45 plus a scoring winger or an 8 and we're good. We just need a few more goals and Martinelli Jesus to play a little bit better. And for me, Osmond, it's not so much even about needing like more goals. It's being more inevitable in situations where the goals are not coming as easily, because we score plenty of goals. But our problem was that we had too many games where we didn't score at all. And those are the types of games where you need somebody to just come up with a little bit of magic, or you need somebody that just like all they care about is scoring goals. I do think that that's one of the bigger differences between Arsenal and Man City is that at the end of the day, no matter how poorly they're playing, they always have Holland up there that can just get them a goal. Right now, we still have to kind of almost be perfect in order to win a game. And when you think about like the Villa game, the first half, the West Ham game, the first half, the Liverpool game, and the FA Cup first half, where we were on top of them and we just kind of needed somebody to put them on the back of the net and everybody was just like feigning chances or whatever, even at the Etihad away. We just needed something, and we didn't have it. And so to me, it's not so much about the amount of goals, it's the situations in which we do not score. That can only be solved with players that have that little bit of like inevitability. And a lot of times that comes through a true number 9. And I feel like that's one of our biggest downfalls is not that we cannot score goals, but we go through too many moments where we just we can't even get lucky. We have to be perfect, playing as good as we possibly can to get something. And I just don't feel like we should be in that situation anymore. Chris says Sesko is nearly 6'5", but he plays like he's 5'11". As soon as he figures out how to use his height to maximum potential, he's going to be frightening. And again, going back to those physical attributes that we just don't have up front, like having Havertz being able to just at least be a target has changed our game so much. Just imagine if the other person that you had to play in that position was an actual goal scorer. And that's no shade to Havertz. Havertz done really well with what he's got, but we still know that there are too many times where he misses, like, really, like, not easy chances, but like ones you expect him to finish. Just imagine if you had somebody that was a natural finisher in that position that's like 6'5". Like, we haven't had that. We've been pretty small up front for a minute now. So it'd be nice to bring in somebody that has those natural qualities that's like, you can't teach Jesus height. You just can't. Like, you either have it or you don't. So yeah. Yo-Yo says Sesko will frustrate fans. Not if they're not realistic about what we're buying. It's like, if you buy somebody that has rough edges, then being upset with them about having rough edges makes no sense. Like, when you don't buy a finished article, you have to be realistic. So for me, it's like, I already will go into it feeling like it'll be a rougher season for him. But again, you have Havertz that's already there. And if you still upgrade in all the other positions that we need to, it won't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we bought this raw guy and he's showing the rawness. I can't believe it. Like, come on now. Social Join says we need depth for these cup runs. Keenan says Jesus should be sold if we buy Sesko. Better to reinvest now in a solid winger. I mean, if a good bid came in for Jesus, I would look at it. Like, personally, I would, not because I don't love Jesus. I think he's great, but like, he reeks of a sell before it's obvious to sell. Like the difference between like him and Trossard is really the wages and the fact that Trossard offers a goal threat. Like, Trossard off of the bench is a goal threat that's on like 100,000 pounds per week, where Jesus is on almost 200,000 pounds per week and doesn't offer any goals. I feel like it's so obvious that if a good bid came in, that is the player that I would move on and give those wages in that spot to somebody else, that offers more. We're not in a position to throw away goals, and so anybody who's not scoring really needs to hit the road, Jack. Like, as far as I'm concerned, but Jesus is still not top of the list to move on. But like, if a bid were to come in, quite like similar to like Zinchenko, like if a bid comes in, you sell. Like, we're not going to renew these guys, so you need to move them on. So yeah, Social Join says Sesko is better than Eddie. That's an automatic win. D'Angelo says Sesko needs to be more strong. Nostradamus says Sesko has a decent record of a goal pretty much every 2 games, although his Champions League record is abysmal, 2 goal in 20 games. Still, though, he's only 21 tomorrow. I do remember that when we were originally linked with Sesko, it came at like the worst time, because the very next game that you could see him play was against Real Madrid, and he did miss some big chances in that game. And people took that and they're like, he's not good enough for Arsenal. And I'm like, if you're going to use a 20-year-old's performance against Real Madrid as a reason why we shouldn't buy him, I'm glad you're not doing our recruitment, because it's just giving Isak again. It's really giving like, I don't have any foresight. Like, I cannot see beyond whatever I really want, which is usually people will say like make up lies about players or say they're shit, when the reality is just you just want somebody else. Sesko is not shit. That game against Real Madrid is not indicative of who he is as a player, what his level is right now. It was like none of the players actually stood, like they were playing against Real fucking Madrid. Like, let's be serious for 5 seconds. And personally, I just feel like, instead of saying like that the player's crap, just say like you want somebody else. But seeing him play against Real Madrid, he was getting into such good positions, and I was like, in a year he puts those away. But I mean, there's just certain goals, like if you watch some of his clips, the goals that he scores, there's not a single person in our team that can score those goals. The way that he hits through the ball, his just like the volleys that he can do, like the long range shots he can take, like he just has that natural goal scoring that we need. So let's not lie on his name. It's just, yeah, like he's not at the place yet in his career where he, the chances against Real Madrid, maybe he doesn't put those away. And quite frankly, if our team right now played against Real Madrid, I'm pretty sure quite a few of them would bottle their chances, you know? So, and he's 20. Um, so yeah, Social Join says Jesus having surgery, ain't no one touching him. Arca says one of Sesko's biggest strengths is his ability to get shots seemingly out of nowhere, and we lack that so much on transition. Yo-Yo says Sesko will be fine as long as he has the right temperament, must have a memory of a goldfish and desperation to bag. I agree with that. That's a really good point. Let's see. Adam says, question, what about Ndidi? Did you ask this the other day? Because somebody else said Ndidi, and I just look like we all were like, nah, like let's be for real. But your question is, what about Wilfred Ndidi as a DM? He is available on a free. Also, Ibrahim Sangari is on the bench at Nottingham Forest. I think there's a number of bargains available. Why are we obsessed with these kind of like guys that are not really that good, but like we're trying to pretend like they're good? There's a reason why what's his name is not playing for Nottingham Forest. And he's probably just not good enough. Or he went there and realized that it was a shit show and he was like, back. But the fact that you're even at Nottingham Forest in itself shows me that that's probably where that's probably your level. Ndidi, is it 2018? Like, we're beyond this. Like, if we're gonna go and get a DM that's a bargain, we're gonna go get Yusuf Fofana. That's who we should go get. 25 years old, French international, playing for Monaco, can play the 6, can play the 8, absolutely ran the Emirates during the last preseason. That is who you go get. This Ndidi nonsense must end. Like, I'd rather spend the 18 million on Fofana than get even him for free. Last time I checked, he was always injured for Leicester. No. And Ibrahim Sangari, he runs like his knees hurt. So no. Fabricio says, Jess, would you take Rashford for 60 million? I don't know. Again, I like the profile. I don't know if I like the player. Like, if you know what I mean, and what that would bring to the rest of the group. P Trim says, does that include Sal Martinelli, just the goal scoring? I mean, no. Martinelli, he is a goal scorer. I think, like, actually, let's look at Martinelli's tallies for this season. So in the Champions League, he scored 2 goals, and in the Premier League, he scored 6 goals, and that's in like a really poor season for him. Like a really poor season. Whereas Jesus has like 4 goals and 5 assists for this season or something like that. So he actually had more in the Champions League this season, which is interesting. So I would say that even in Martinelli's bad season, he offers goals, and we know that he played well below his level. Even when Jesus is playing well, he lacks goals. So, yeah, Martinelli is somebody that I wouldn't even consider selling this summer. For me, it's the obvious ones that we know need to be moved on, the Nketiahs, the Reece Nelsons, maybe even the ESR. And then if a good bid came in, is the Zinchenko's and the Jesuses. Like, those are the ones that are kind of like obvious to me. Iman says Sesko would cook for us with the likes of Odegaard and Saka feeding him. Somebody that needs a clinical striker more than anybody is Odegaard. Like, I don't know if you guys have been seeing the stats rolling around like on Twitter about Odegaard. And there's also like a comp going around of all the chances that Odegaard created for his teammates. There are a lot of point blank misses in there. Like, for people, like honestly, like the funniest era of Arsenal this season was Odegaard is not creative. That was hilarious. The numbers that he has through balls into the box, chances created, are top of the European top 5 leagues. Like, be fucking for real. Like, some of you guys need your heads checked. Just say he was going through a bad run of form and you took it too far, because Odegaard not being creative is a joke. But also what's a joke is that his teammates have like robbed him of so many assists. He needs a clinical striker more than anybody, because honestly, as the president of the Odegaard fan club, we are tired. We are tired. He should have way more assists. He's definitely a creative player. I don't know where that came from. And I just feel like he would really benefit from it a lot. Yeah, like more than anybody, he would benefit. Also, Saka would benefit because I think Saka's main like his natural inclination is to be a creator, and so I think we overburden him with having to score goals. So having somebody that, him and if Kai and Sesko are asked to do more of the goal scoring, then it would relieve the burden off of Odegaard and Saka, and they can do what they naturally do, which is create. Because my goodness, they are creating. Like they are creating. Mr. Adams says Desire Due is a diamond player. We've also been linked to him, which would be great. Like I think he looks great on his comps. And again, if you can't go out and get a superstar, go get the best talent you can find that's younger and develop them. Don't get somebody average. You know what I mean? Like somebody that has a clear ceiling. I'd rather skip that person. Like let's say like Neto is who we really want, but we've already kind of like said no. Like he's too injury prone. Then the next level down, like of winger, we should not be looking at. I would rather go get like an elite young talent than like the average guy that's not as good as Pedro Neto, but has like a clear ceiling. So I would be okay with the kid, but it just changes things because it means that like Martinelli would be the starter, Saka is the starter. Like you're not going to upgrade necessarily. You're going to kind of be backfilling, and that's just different. Doyen Sola says, I believe a hungry goal scorer like Gyökeres is better than risking Sesko. Costi says, Sesko will do well at Arsenal. He's got that physical presence and better finisher. He will improve up front, and we will improve him as a player. Aston says, Ethan Awari scored a banger today. One side mission for this upcoming season is to make sure he gets integrated. Like, I feel like I would love that for him. I would love that for him, and I would love that for us. So I'm kind of expecting it. I know it's a little bit difficult, but yeah, I think it should happen. I'm just making a poll right now, guys, because there's 600 of you guys in here, which is great. So make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. But I think it's like a combination of people watching on Instagram, no, people watching on Twitter and people watching on YouTube, which is cool. But if you guys can go ahead and vote, I have a poll going on, would you sign Sesko? Because I want to know what you guys are thinking. Guyana says, yes, I agree. Ethan should be upgraded. I'm so into it. Like I would love for him to be integrated. Blaze says, I think this guy from Twitter, no new thing. Blah, 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 blah. He's my op. Like, there's just no way. Like, yuck. He definitely has a lot of, he does not like Odegaard or something, and it's just annoying. Let's see. I'm looking for more Sesko comments before we get into Arteta's wish list being revealed, which I'm excited to talk about. Samuel says this fan base used to rate the booty cheeks. Them rating Ndidi doesn't surprise me one bit. It's like we're stuck in like 2018. Like Ndidi hasn't been a thing for so long. Like, and I'm sorry, like just go get Fofana. That guy is like done. Let's see. Yo-Yo says Odegaard Saka can reach world class with the right forward side. No one can convince me otherwise. I agree with this. I think relieving them of the needing to be our top goal scorers and just allowing them to create will help them score more goals because they will relax a little bit more because they know it's not like all up to them, but their natural inclination to create will come out and they'll reap the benefits because they'll actually have finishers in that position. Junior says Sesko able to play outside of the box. His link up is okay. He runs the channels really well. Those are two things that I feel like I know about him, but I'm not like a total expert on him. So I'm not going to like give you like a tactical breakdown on him, but he runs the channels well. His link up is okay. But really we'd be getting him to do the work inside the box. So we have players that do a lot of work outside the box. Really, I'm looking for somebody who puts the ball in the back of the net. And for people that are probably wondering what were his numbers last season, I will pull them up now. So it's the first season in the Bundesliga. He moved from RB Salzburg to Leipzig. And in his last season with Salzburg, he scored like 16 goals and had 3 assists. In this season, in the German Bundesliga, in 31 matches, he has 14 goals and 2 assists. And also, like, he's not a starter. He doesn't start all the time for them. So I think that's a good return for first year in the German Bundesliga, 20 years old, not a starter. And again, for me, it's the types of goals he scores are not the types of goals like the players in our team could not even dream of scoring those goals. Like, and I'm not even trying to shade them, but they are not hitting that volley that he did for Slovenia. They're not hitting that ball from outside of the box and it going top bins. Like, they're not scoring those goals, So it's the type of goals that he scores. And it's the fact that like the physical qualities and the fact that like even with minimal minutes or like not starting minutes, he is getting goals. Like, it's very obvious that in like 2 years, he's going to be the type of striker that you're going to have to pay like 100 million for. If we can get in front of this line and get it done now, that'd be really smart of us, I think, because having to do the ESAC thing all the time where it's like, oh, now we want him, but now he's like 100. They want like 200 million for him. Like, that's just nonsense. Like, it might be okay to just get the younger prospect and let him grow. And that doesn't mean it's going to take 3 or 4 years either. It could really, like, for some players, it could be a couple months and you start to really see the levels, right? So yeah, Social Joins says top tier ball striking technique, which like none of the players in our team have the ability to strike through the ball. Like, they all like not all, but like consistent. They're not consistent with their ball striking. Like, they do not lock their ankle. So I like that. Aman says Sesko can also shoot outside the box. He has a nice variety of finishes. Arca says Sesko has the highest goals per minute after Kane and Guirassy or in the Bundesliga. Kevin says Sesko was my second option if we're not going for Gyökeres. I wish we went for Gyökeres first, though. We haven't had a striker like that in a long time. And C. Wilder says Sesko has a cannon of a shot on him. Let's see. And John says Sesko is going Chelsea. They're selling Broha. Hope not. I mean, just because they're selling Broya doesn't mean that they're automatically going to get Sesko, Also, it depends on, does he want to play in the conference, or if he wants to play in Champions League, the instability at Chelsea. If I was a player right now, because they switch managers every 5 seconds, I would be a little apprehensive about going there, because young players more than anybody need stability. They need the same manager. They need a really calm environment where they can develop. That's not a place that you're going to develop, because you're going to constantly be chopping and changing managers. They never stick with anybody for a long period of time. So I don't know if them selling Broya means they're definitely getting Sesko. Sesko has a choice. And if he wants to come to Arsenal, then he'll come to Arsenal. I don't know, really get what Chelsea has to do with it, to be honest. Philip says, Jess, there are no top clubs that have 7 forwards. Buying a striker and a winger doesn't seem realistic to me. Totally disagree that Sesko can't play well on the left and up top. I just don't really want that. I feel like just play him in the striker position, or buy a left wing. I get what you're saying about 7 forwards, but again, I would be looking to maybe move Jesus on, so I do get what you're saying about you probably need to sell somebody, and maybe the winger only comes in if a bid comes in for Jesus, but I would be tempted because listen, we're still going to be missing the winger profile. And both, if you guys are complaining now, you guys are really going to be complaining next season when you have Jesus on the wing, who, people are talking about Trossard couldn't keep up physically. Jesus, we don't know. That is like a wild west. We don't know what that's going to look like. So yeah, Shamaria says, yeah, I think Sesko would rather stay at Leipzig than go to Chelsea. Like this isn't a couple of years ago where anytime Chelsea wanted a player, they got them. Like it's different now. So yeah. Sunga says my pick Skamaka 19 goals, 7 assists in 220 minutes. 2,200 minute value for money. He was already in the Premier League. Like something about Italians, they just they don't bang in the Premier League. And I know somebody's gonna be like, Jorginho. And I'm like, yeah. But again, they're the exception to the rule. The exception is Jorginho was able to come and be good in the Premier League. He still probably would be a lot better in Italy, let's be honest. But like we've seen Scamacca in the Premier League and it didn't work out. So like why would we he probably is just a Serie A merchant and that's okay. But yeah. Ahmed says, I am a Juventus fan, but your content is really interesting. I really appreciate your hard work. And about Sesko, maybe I'm wrong, but for me, the ideal striker for Arsenal is Osimhen. I think that's like a lot of people assume that that's who we should be going for. Like he's already proven Arsenal need a striker that's already I get that. But I think because of this Havertz signing, we have to look in a different direction. And if you get Osimhen, that means that the midfield signing isn't going to be the main signing, and the midfield signing is so important, so it might work to our benefit, because getting the striker and then Havertz still playing midfield, or getting the midfielder and Havertz playing number 9, I know what I'd rather. And that's also because I'm not dumb. Havertz is not sitting the bench. So he's gonna play in one of these positions, and I'd rather him be up front. So, Osimhen, I get it because he's the name, but Sesko has all the physical qualities and the true number 9 essence to be special, I think, whether it's at Arsenal or someone else. Yoga says Arteta loves Eddie. He's like he's blood. I think he's gone though. I think as much as we're always kind of talking about his love for Eddie, there's just no other there's not a single report out there saying that we're gonna keep Eddie. Eddie was getting no minutes at the end of the season. He was pretty much iced out, just like everybody else that goes. He was iced out just like them. So as much as we all believe that he has some real affection for Eddie, he's gone. He's gone. Him, Reese, they're gone. Jesus will probably still stay, but if there was even a 30 million pound bid, even a little bit lower, 25, I might even consider it, because it's not that obvious to sell him now, but it will be if he comes back from that surgery and he doesn't recover. It will be so obvious that we should have sold him. So Tawana says Havertz will compete with the next striker, plus Sesko will not be thrown to drown in his first season, which is what Manchester United did with Højlund, which they know was a massive mistake, which is why they're going to be probably looking at Tony. They knew Højlund at Man United, they definitely threw him in the deep end. And there were times in the season where he did really well, and there were other times in the season where he was dreadful. And I don't think it's because he's not good. I think it's because the environment was not good. Having a player that is young but is not thrown in and expected to chase, especially a striker, because if you're not scoring, they don't care. Look what happened to Jackson. He's young and he showed some promise, but even at Chelsea, where they were shit, they still expected him to be some sort of superstar, and he was just clipped up. And even look at Nunez too. Nunez, a little bit older, but came for a big price tag. He still scored lots of goals this season, but the misses is all that people care about. So you kind of have to have a buffer in between the young player and the narrative. And so Havertz is that buffer, which would make it better, for us. Damien says Arsenal fans lapping up the Sesko deal. They don't want Prem proven and ready now. No, give them a project striker. That's why we ain't winning. I don't know if having a young player, if that's the reason we're not winning, is the reason why we're not so if Sesko comes, does that guarantee we don't win anything next season? I don't actually think the striker is the biggest problem. I think that like the striker is something like, but at the end of the season, we saw we were scoring loads of goals and stuff like that. We still probably missed out on like a couple, but like really, I think our biggest problem is midfield. I actually think that not getting a proven midfielder will actually be more damaging for Arsenal than not getting a proven striker. We don't have the answers to our midfield questions yet, but Sesko plus Havertz, I feel like is closer to what we need than like whatever we're doing in midfield. So I kind of get that school of thought. It's like just buy a superstar. But even when you say that and you ask people, okay, so like you want somebody that's proven, that's already a superstar, who do you want? They can't really come up with anybody or anybody realistic that we can get. They still feel like we can just walk up to Newcastle, give them 80 million and they'll accept. That's not going to happen. They're going to ask for way more. They don't want to sell. Osimhen is very injury prone and also is going to cost a lot of money. You know, do we have the money to do that in midfield? I still feel like it's just not as simple as just buy the superstar, buy the superstar. That's why we're not going to win. I don't think buying Sesko means we're not going to win anything because that's basically what you're saying. Buying Sesko means not winning anything. If he could come in and score the goals that we maybe couldn't score, come in against Newcastle, score a goal, come in against Aston Villa and score, come in against West Ham and score, maybe actually we do win the league. So not quite sure it's just the striker. And if it's not Osimhen, then that means we're not going to win anything. To me, it's a little bit, that's a little bit too reductive. So yeah, Kasi says, our biggest problem is midfield just, and you are right. The games we drop points in, those were lost in the midfield battle. It's a little bit of both, like the midfield being like not able to progress the ball, like just a little stiff, you know. We didn't have like the why are y'all calling me? Not having like the fluidity that we needed. And then also not having like that additional person that we can bring off the bench and like just like nick that goal or whatever. And there's not that many games like that. But I just think of like Aston Villa away, Aston Villa at home, West Ham at home, and Liverpool at home. Those games, they were all so similar. We had so many chances in the first half, but we just couldn't put that away. What if we had like a different striker that just liked to score goals? Even if that was Sesko and he scored in 3 of those games, even if that was it, we probably would have won the league. So I'm just trying to be like a little bit more. I think people are just like almost like just they're almost being, I don't want to call it spoiled, but it's like um they want a big name and so they're completely shutting out the idea of Sesko because it's not what they want. Instead of like just say you want a big name, just say that, because you can't say that bringing in Sesko means we're not going to win any trophies. That's not how it works. Yo-Yo says people don't keep the same energy with all the injury-prone players, nor do they question Arteta and Edu for repeating similar mistakes. Junior says Partey will leave Arsenal in the summer. That's what they're saying. Damien says walk up to Newcastle with 110 million for Isak. We are a big club, Fofana and a center back. It's just not that simple. Like if they don't actually want to sell, like they've already said multiple times that they don't want to sell Isak. So it's just not that simple. Walk up to them with 110. We're a big club. It's like it just reeks of just like a lack of like it's just not that simple. If he's not for sale, he's not for sale. And if I was Newcastle, I wouldn't sell him. You know, why would you? You know, so yeah. I mean, can anybody just walk up to Arsenal and just take Saka? They're a big club. No, like it's just no, it doesn't work like that. Caesar says Hato, Frankie plus Rodrigo, Bruno G plus Rashford, or Leao, Sesko, Neves could do a Bruno also. No Kadioglu unless CBFB leaving. Rams does. Do the Rams goes to no fucking steal, put a shift in. Fair enough. So speaking of other targets, there's 663 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys are smashing the likes. But speaking of other targets, Arteta's wish list has been revealed, which I've kind of been waiting for, just because it's like I want to know kind of what he wants. You know, does he still want just like a left back and a midfielder? Are we still going to look for a winger? Because I think the winger is still very important. I do agree with, I think, I forget who said it, that like maybe we'd have to sell somebody, but I do feel like we need some changes, so, or we should be willing to make those big decisions to make sure that we get the profiles that we need in order to win silverware. The the margins are really fine. It's not, we can't just hold on to players for the sake of it anymore. But Arteta wants to add a defender, a central midfielder, a forward, and cover on the right wing for Saka. So that reads to me that you want a winger, a striker, a midfielder, and a defender. I think this all happening depends on, like you said, like you guys were already saying, moving players on, but also like just how much money we actually do have, and like being able to split that up in priorities, spending the majority of that on like a proven midfielder. Then you can bring in a Hato that isn't necessarily like is super talented but young, a Sesko super talented but young. Like you can get away with that if the midfielder is ready to go, right? Mikel Arteta would like a squad of 20 outfield players in addition to goalkeepers. He wants to add a defender, like I already said. And the expectation is that he will move for younger players such as Benjamin Sesko. So there you go. It all reads like the experienced player that we'll get will most likely be in the midfield. So that's your Douglas Luiz, your Bruno Guimaraes. So that probably takes João Neves out. And hopefully that adds Yusuf Fofana in. And hopefully we're not even thinking about Amadou Onana. But Fofana, Bruno Guimaraes, Douglas Luiz, take your pick. A lot of Arsenal fans like Douglas Luiz. I think the one thing about Douglas Luiz that maybe puts him that he has that Bruno doesn't have is he's a dead ball specialist, and we lack that badly. So you're letting Kia back in your bed, by the way. So bringing in Douglas Luiz also means you're bringing Kia. Remember that Kia, we got him out. Now we're going to bring him back in, but you would be getting somebody that's a dead ball specialist. And I've said this many times, and I'll continue to say it until it is no longer true. The last time that Arsenal scored a goal from a free kick, direct from a free kick, was in January of 2021 against Burnley, and that was Odegaard. We are in 2024. So we need somebody that we need that in our arsenal. I don't care if it's the striker. I don't care if it's a midfielder. We just need to add that to it. And Douglas Luiz has that. Bruno Guimaraes doesn't have that, but I think in every other category, Bruno's better. That's my opinion. I know some people think differently. I'd love to know what you think in the chat. And then the more cost effective, but still gives the same vibes, is Yusuf Fofana. So you can rank them however you want to rank them, but those are the options. Everybody else would be younger, and so that makes sense because Hato is 18, Sesko is 20, and that Desire Dua, he's 18. So maybe the three players that we bring in outside of the midfielder are younger, and those are the players that fill out the bench. My only fear with that is Arteta's management of players that aren't really starters, that are younger and need development, has not been that great. Nuno, Fabio, and Sambi all came from teams outside of the big five leagues. Needed some, even though I know Sambi and Fabio are not young, like they're both like 24 now. But when they came in, they were like 21, 22, and they needed a little bit of TLC, and they were just like left for dead. And they were just like left for dead and fell through the cracks, in my opinion. So having those players be brought in, Arteta would have to change the way that he manages those players. He cannot just leave them on the bench. He has to trust them to play in real fucking games. Can he do it? Can he do it? Also, Nweri, he would fit in that category as well. Young player, needs development, cannot just be left for dead, cannot only play in a heavily rotated side in a Carabao Cup. That's just not going to be good enough. So the management of these young players is going to be important, because I think so far it's been hit or miss. It's been hit or miss. And I don't really count Martinelli and Saka because they were already in the team ish when Mikel came in. So it's just different. And they came straight, like as soon as Arteta was in, they were pretty much like, once we switched over to the younger team, they were starters. So, it's just different. So yeah, like going with the young players, I get it, as long as that midfielder is older. Like they just have to be like Saka and Odegaard ready to go. And that was my main concern about the João Neves signing, was that I was like, he's fucking young. Like he's like 19. Like bringing him from Benfica and dropping him into the Premier League midfield that is expected to win, when the midfield is like the heart of the team, and when it's not working, we're not working. That's not it. You need another midfield general in there, somebody that knows what they're doing. And so all three of those options make sense. I get why Arsenal would be going for that. It's going to make some people mad because, again, there are people, like I've read the comments, if we don't buy these like star players, then we won't win anything. But I think it's okay to get a mixture as long as you get the mixture correct. Costi says the players, however young, have to put in effort to be considered. They have to earn the manager's trust. Eddie, Reese, and others have not done enough to earn their spot. I think it's twofold. I think often as fans, it's like, well, if they're not playing, that means that they're doing something wrong, or the manager is 100% correct. And I don't know if it's always just that. I think you have to be given the opportunities, but when you're given an opportunity and you play well, but then you don't, like, even when they play well, they don't play after that. Like Smith Rowe had several decent performances. He had like one against Brentford, one against Luton, one against Nottingham Forest. And those are the only times we saw him. He didn't get like another start. Like Fabio Vieira, he started against Everton, played well. Then he started against Spurs, was taken out at halftime or something like that, and we never saw him again. So, this idea that like they just need to prove themselves, I don't know if they're given enough, games in a row, because young players they can't just be dropped in here and there. So I think it's part of it is some of the players don't do enough when they get chances, but when we do see the game and see that they've played well, and then we don't see them again for another couple of months, I think that's more a Mikel thing than a them thing. So can Arteta manage young players while being under pressure to win? And can he give them enough trust to allow them to make mistakes within a group of games without the entire house of cards falling down? Because that is always what you give up to have young players in the team, is they're going to have poor performances, going to affect you, but Arsenal are not in a position where they can lose games where these players come in. So can he coach them enough and put them in a situation, an environment that's good enough where they can make these mistakes and the house of cards doesn't fall? And when they make these mistakes, can they be given multiple games in a row to work it out, or are they just going to go straight to the bench? So for me, it's just twofold. But if we can't afford to buy Rodrigo, or Rodrigo's not available, if we can't afford to buy Isak and Isak is not available, then the only way to get players of that caliber in your team is to develop younger players that have that elite talent or potential. And Arteta needs to learn how to do that, because I don't think Arsenal are ever going to be in a position where they're just going to be going out there and buying whoever they like, going up with the bag of money and saying, here, I want so-and-so. It just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. So there's going to have to be like a mixture. So yeah, Ken Roy says, one player I would love to see get more playing time is Fabio Vieira. He's excellent with his passing. Aman says, Arteta has no excuses next season to utilize this squad and rotate. Gus says, hi, Jess. I don't think we need one midfielder. We need two or three. Realistically, you're not going to get three midfielders. I think I'd be shocked if we got two. We'll most likely get one. So yeah. And like to bring in like 2-3 midfielders and then miss out on an attacker or something like that. I think we have to be, you still have to work with some of the things that you have. If we, I cannot see us going out there and spending all, like, basically, if you get 2 or 3 midfielders, you're going to pretty much have nothing else to spend on anything else. We still need to get the defender, we still need to get attackers. So I kind of agree, but like, when I say we need things and like, I'm like, we need like 2 or 3 midfielders, that's like over a period of time. We're still gonna have to work with some of the things we have. So I kind of get what you're saying, but at the same time, like realistically, we need one this window. Like there's a difference between like we all can see the future of Arsenal and say like, we're still missing this, we're still missing that. But like we need at like one midfielder, we need attackers, we need one defender. We could make a list of needs that would replace the whole group, but prioritizing what we actually need and what we want for the future is so different. I don't think we need 2 or 3 midfielders this summer. We need at least one. If we could squeeze out one more, that'd be great, but not if that means not getting the attackers that we need. We still have not invested in the attack like at all. So that needs to be looked at for sure. Let's see. P Trim says the need to win to bypass Man City is the thing that's limiting young players. The margins are minute, 2 points. Boy says Patino has to come into the team. Like he's probably going to get sold. Amon says if Partey leaves, we need 2. I think it's Partey leaves and then he's replaced by that player. And then you'll have your starting 3. And then Jorginho is staying. Because I still think people are like not actually like computing that Jorginho signed a new deal. So that means he'll be here next season. So you have at least 2 DMs. Because whoever you buy is also going to be able to play number 6. So then you have to work with Fabio Vieira, Emil / Nweri. Like that's the reality of probably what we're going to have to do. I don't know. It's like if Partey, I don't know if people think like, does it make sense to you guys to buy a midfielder and also have both Jorginho and Partey there? And the midfielder that you buy can also play 6 and so can Rice. Does that make sense? Like, to me, it doesn't. The player that you bring in is going to replace Partey. And then whatever you're going to have to deal with some of the players that you got, the 2 doesn't, I just can't see us doing it. I just can't see us doing it. Denzel says, Jess, how do you rate Martin Zubimendi? I think he's a good player. Maybe he doesn't want to come to the Premier League, but I think he's a good player. But like I've fully moved on to Bruno Guimaraes now, and I'm willing that into existence. So yeah. El Capri says, why doesn't Arteta try to play Zinchenko in midfield? There's a reason why, and I would imagine that Pep Guardiola and Arteta both deciding not to use him in midfield there's probably a good reason, because like they would know, you know what I mean? Like they would know if anybody why. So I'm just trusting that they know why. I can't really pinpoint it. So yeah. But Tony says J20 is our own any replacement insurance policy. I don't know why we would need Jorginho and Partey and Rice and another player that probably can play 6 and 8. If you buy Douglas Luiz, Fofana, or Bruno Guimaraes, who are our main targets, they all can play number 6 in a pinch. So that's like a lot. Like whoever comes in is basically the replacement, or the person that's going to come in my mind, is a combination of a replacement for Partey and a replacement for Xhaka. Somebody that can do the Xhaka things on the ball in terms of like the passes into the half spaces to the Martinellis and stuff like that, but can also play number 6 to replace Partey in a pinch. Like that's kind of the player that I think is going to come in. So yeah, and that's why that player is going to cost a lot. And that's why that player needs to be quality, because it's quality over quantity. We don't really play with the Eze, Xavi Simons type. I see people in the comments talking about those players, and that's who we need to bring in. We don't play with that type of player in midfield. Unless the midfield changes, it's not going to be that type of player. It's literally going to be like how we had Jorginho and Rice switching and Partey and Rice playing together. It's going to be that plus Odegaard. Odegaard is the 8/10. You have 2 6/8. That's the composition of midfield unless it changes. So there's no spot for that type of player either. So, and that's why even like Fabio Vieira and Emil Smith-Rowe, there's not really a spot for them. So yeah. Andre, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, do you think we would get Sesko in order to get Rashford or a dynamic winger for mid? I feel like Bruno G is the best option than De Jong or Fofana. I think Sesko is kind of like an opportunity and also gives you the flexibility to go big in other positions. I actually think we would go big in midfield, and the winger, if they do come in, will be probably a younger option because I just can't see us getting Rashford. And also like I said the other day, I thought, if there's even an inkling of a chance that you can get Rodrigo, you throw all of your transfer plans in the trash to get that done. But even he looks like he's staying. And so if that dynamic, special star-like winger doesn't exist, then you throw most of the resources into midfield. So I actually think like Sesko coming in just make sure that you can go big somewhere else. Whether that's the wing or midfield depends on who's available. And right now it looks like midfield has more of the players that we would want. And the winger is probably going to be like that last thing that gets filled, because you also have to, like we already said, figure out if you're going to move Jesus on or not. So yeah. Jude K says we need another 8/10 for Odegaard backup. Nostradamus says I want Ndidi to be a part of the squad as cover and to play minutes so Partey or Rice do not have to play needless minutes to keep them at full gear another game. What? I mean, Partey's not even going to be here. So you want to have Partey, Rice, and Ndidi as your midfield options? Like, Partey's not even going to be here. There's no, like, if Partey is here, then Ndidi is not. Like, there's just, no. Like, I don't see why we would do that. I don't get the Ndidi thing. I will never understand it. I do like Fofana, though. Like, I'm honest saying Fofana. Fofana is a good option. Because they just keep coming up. I'm looking at them. I cannot believe what I'm seeing in 2024. Ken Roy says, I think we should give Fabio a chance to back up Odegaard. I don't see anybody. I mean, if somebody came in for Fabio, it'd be interesting to see what we did. But if you move Fabio on and you also move Emil on, it gives the club more work to do because then they have to identify somebody to replace them. And I already think they have a lot on their plate. A striker, potentially a winger, a big midfield signing, a goalkeeper, and a defender. So I actually think Fabio is probably pretty safe. I think for even if it's not about playing reasons, just to not have more work to do, I feel like he'll be there. Whether he'll get playing time or not, I don't know. So yeah. Philip says Zinchenko to Bayern is starting to sound realistic, and I love it. Do you think company a Davies or Kimmich swap would be a massive game changer for us? Both have 1 year left on their contracts. I think Davies is like almost for certain going to end up at Real Madrid, and then the player that will move into that left back position will be Theo Hernandez. I was reading like they're in talks, and so Zinchenko is probably a backup option for them. And so they're just making sure that if they can't get Theo Hernandez, that they would have somebody else that they could bring in. But it's probably realistic if everything from like the Theo Hernandez thing falls apart or they don't want to pay what AC Milan want. AC Milan wants like 80 million or something like that for Hernandez. And Bayern are not used to paying real prices for anything because they're used to bullying Bundesliga teams into giving them basically their talent for free. So we'll see how all that unwinds, but I don't have a feeling that we're going to get Kimmich. I think Kimmich will maybe stay or end up at like Barcelona or something like that. I don't see him coming in. I would take Kimmich, but I just don't really see that as like a realistic thing. Yeah. Let's see. The DD stuff making me die, man. Let's see. And also like I'm seeing a lot of comments, like I don't really want to bring them up because I don't think it's neat, like we need it, but I do really think that like Arsenal fans are very hung up on the position name and the number. Like they're very obsessed with Rice is an 8, Rice is a 6, Bruno Guimaraes is an 8, he's a 6, so it's 6, so it's 8, so and I'm just like, honestly, if like you're not getting it, wrap your mind around it. Rice will play 8 and 6. Whoever comes in is going to play 8 and 6. And it's not going to really be 8 and 6. It's just going to be situational and based on like if we're in position, out of position, this triggers that, that triggers this. Like the way Jorginho and Rice played at times, sometimes Jorginho was higher, sometimes Rice was deeper. Jorginho would pop up on the left or the right. Rice would pop up on the left or the right. Like that's why Odegaard getting more freedom allowed him to go to the left. He wasn't playing left center mid. He just had more freedom. Like our midfield three, that's why I'm like 6/8, 10/8, like because they all play multiple positions within a game. Like, and I just don't understand why people are not gripping it. The obsession over the number and the position for me is so reductive when we've watched an entire season of everybody playing every position at once. You know, like Arteta loves that like situational, sometimes so and so is there, sometimes so and so is not there. He likes that, you know. So I don't actually think like it's that deep, you know, but like the positions, like the types of players that play in those positions, basically like it would require somebody that can play deeper as like more of like a deep line playmaker, and somebody that can also pop up in more advanced positions in and around the box and find those passes. That's kind of what you're looking for. And that's why when I say it's a combination of Xhaka and Partey, that's why I'm saying that. Because this player, if anything, needs to be able to pass a fucking ball. You know, Rice is bringing, he's a good passer too, but you need the incisive passing in and around the box for your Martinelli people. That's what you need. And then if they're deeper than Rice, they need to be able to dictate from deep, right? And so that's what I'm saying. But the obsession around 6 or 8 or DM or 8 is so reductive when you think about how we played all season. It just is. Like the amounts of times that Jorginho overlapped one game and created an assist for Kai Havertz. That's our DM. Like the position don't fucking matter. Like they really don't. So, and I think depending on the situation, you'll want Rice to be able to do the more box to boxy stuff, running, you know, using his athleticism. And then there'll be times where you want him at the base because he allows us to be more secure at the base of our midfield. And then maybe you'll want somebody a little bit different. Arteta likes options and versatility and positionless football. Like when we get to that point of acceptance, we can have better conversations about midfield and not be so obsessed over the actual position. It's so like, it just, whoo, my brain just like is so weird. Like this, so Rice, he's not, he's a 6, he's an 8. Like, let's just get over it. Like, come on. Sean says it's a low-key light beer version of what Gasparini does at Atalanta, but I agree. The obsession is weird considering that Wenger preached total football, and it's not like folks weren't there for it. I actually like, it's more about complementary players. Like whatever Odegaard and Rice lack, that's what that player needs to have. And all the pieces need to work together to create a balanced group. And that's all I care about. At times, like, I think it depends on what part of the season you like better. I think some people really liked when Partey came in because they felt like it gave Rice and Odegaard much more freedom. I think I liked when Jorginho was playing there just a little bit more, just because I felt like we were still more secure. I felt like once Partey came in, we were a lot less secure at the back. Either way, to me, it was about balance. I think either one of those players gave us a lot more balance than what Havertz did. And so whoever comes in just needs to be able to fill in those holes that Odegaard and Rice cannot do, but just allow them to do what they do best and highlight those things. And it would be nice to give them a little bit more freedom, because Rice with a little bit more freedom and Odegaard with a little bit more freedom, I think, are their best selves anyway. So that's how I think about it more than anything. I'm not really obsessed with 6/8. He had to be an 8. Like, it's just like, my God. Like, you know, can we rest? Yo-Yo says exactly. Jigsaw puzzle is incomplete without pieces that are complementing each other. Daniel says our main priority is center forward, then CM. I think we keep Partey one more year and see what happens. I think he's gone. Boy says you can preach total football, but at the end of the day, players have a position for a reason. Rice is a DM, not a CM. I mean, but he even says the opposite. I mean, do we listen to what the players say? He said that he's enjoyed having a freer role. He likes, being able to get further forward and impact the game in more advanced positions. He's more comfortable at 6, but he's liking having the freedom at 8. You know what I mean? Like, do we even listen to the players when they speak? Because he's telling you basically the plan is like for him to be able to have more freedom, even though he's still going to play 6. Like, I don't think we need to define these players anymore. Like, it's not that deep. We know what their roles are, and we know that they change within the game. Like, I think some people want to continue the debate because they said, "Oh, he's going to be the 8, so I need to force the 8 narrative," or I said he was going to be a 6, so I need to force the 6 narrative. I was fully thinking when Rice came in that he was going to play the 6. And for the first half of the season, that was the truth. Second half of the season, he was more advanced because then we started using Jorginho. I was like, wow, like he actually can play the 8 too, or play more advanced. But I like the fact that we have the option for both. And I feel like the obsession also about Man City and wanting to always do things the way that they do and being like, well, you have to make him into a Rodri or not at all, I think is also why, like, when people say that we're just trying to copy Pep, I think it's disingenuous when we actively have conversations around how we do things. Like, we're actually seeing Arteta create something that's not Pep like at all. Like, he would never have Rodri playing more advanced like that. Like, Rodri does get more advanced and get at the edge of the box and stuff, but he would never do what Rice did at the back end of the season. Never. So we do something completely different. We don't have to be obsessed about what Pep does and what Man City does. And I think we don't need to define with like the actual name of the position. We just need to have the balance. And the balance in midfield can be with Declan Rice higher, deeper, Odegaard higher, deeper, Odegaard on the left or the right. Like, you just need to have the right player. Like, to me, it's just that simple. Um, so yeah. Boy says you only listen to strikers when they say they won't shoot, or defenders when they say they are scared. Never ever believe in midfielders saying they should play uh further forward. He didn't say he should play further forward. He said he likes having the license to get more advanced. So again, like, I'm sorry, I'm listening to what Rice is saying. I'm not really listening to anybody else. I think it's a long, drawn conversation that is kind of reductive. Like, it just really is. Tony says Rice is an 8 on offensive, 6 on defense. It's not that hard. It really isn't. Caesar says, how is man against Bruno Guimaraes, and puts Douglas and Gomez in the same sentence? Ken Roy says, I agree with you, Jess. We need to start looking at players based on the qualities that they provide to the team and their ability to adapt to the roles. Yo-Yo says Jorginho and Partey were and are both on the decline. Arteta and Edu have spent long enough time to address the obvious with the midfield. I'm excited to see what we do. I'm excited to see what we do in midfield. I'm excited to see how we address the attack. Like, I feel if we were to get somebody like Sesko, like we were talking about earlier, it'd be the first time that we bought a striker of even like an attacker of that type of like raw talent. I would be interested to see what happens with that. Because with Jesus, we knew what he was. Like, there was no question around what we were getting. And with Trossard, we knew what we were going to get. With Sesko, we don't know what we're getting. And that's kind of like exciting because you kind of know what the raw talent is, but like the potential is really limitless with him. So, and seeing Arteta with somebody that's a natural goal scorer, and Arteta like maybe trying to have to fight himself not to make him into a complete like false 9 DM left wing will be interesting. And then seeing what we do in midfield. You guys know I'm obsessed with our midfield. So I'm excited to see who we actually go with. But I'm also very, very excited to have you guys join me for the first classic watch along in just about 5 minutes. We're going to head over to TIFO for those of you guys who are just tuning in, because there's 731 of you guys watching, which is outrageous. We're doing a classic watch along in just about 5 minutes of the 2020 FA Cup final where we beat Chelsea. And so that's going to be on TIFO, the platform that She Knows Arsenal is working with to create the perfect platform for creators that want to do watch alongs. There's opportunities for you guys to get up on stage with me and actually put your camera on and talk There's threads where you guys can talk to each other, and it's kind of like almost like a Discord within a watch along, which is really cool. And so we're going to head over there. The link is pinned in the chat, and it's also pinned in the description. And before we get out of here, I'm also going to just put the link in the chat so that you guys don't have to scroll all the way up and you guys can just easily see it. But I'm super excited to do this because I'm a nostalgia merchant, and the more nostalgia, the better. I love watching old things and pretending like I've never seen it before. If you guys knew how many times I've watched Mean Girls, you guys would say I was ill, So the link is in the chat. And once you guys click on the link, you guys will sign up with your email. And the code is Jessica, just like my name, Jessica. You'll come to a screen like this and you'll be able to go into the watch along. There's already people in the chat, which is super cool. So make sure you guys join if you guys are a part of Nostalgia FC. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here because I need to get my popcorn and my drink and get all set up. I'll send you guys the link on YouTube for the FA Cup final, but it's easy to search. Just put in Arsenal Chelsea FA Cup final and it'll pop up. Make sure you're on the full match, which is up there. It's like an hour and 51 minutes. But I am just this show has been so cool. Like there's 700 people watching, which is super that's a lot, so it's so cool. But like and subscribe, and also get in the chat after the comments afterward and let me know what you guys are thinking about Sesko and the striker situation and the midfield situation. And we'll see what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I'm not quite sure yet. Hopefully we'll get an Orny bomb and that'll make it easier on me. But I will see a lot of you guys, hopefully, in just about 5 minutes. But I'm going to head over to Tifo with my popcorn and stuff, and we'll enjoy our Nostalgia FC. But love you guys, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.